Hi everyone, I'm Modife Nyansenga. I'm a student at Southern New Hampshire University Slow Kepler program. Now I'm going to talk about three resources or three articles on different points. On the first stories, they have concern that terror teams have selected targets ready to strike. The second story is Walmart announced great for your food labeling initiative. On the third story is one Boston bombing suspect died massive manhunt for second the white hat suspect. Uh, by independent by self-interest in the first stories, these resources is personality or self-contained, the piece being published as obviously unimportant because it is independent. The site often show that Europeans worried about terrorism attacks. This resources is independent because the source didn't focus on how the information will influence its perception. The second story is about independent by self-interest. This is interesting resources with the help of analysis. I mentioned this obviously. Resources information is long included in the reporting of the article. In the consequences, this story requires time to show what is good for individual. In other words, the development of plant and develop and the difference good in promoted. In the consequences, the story linked to the stories as it has inspired people to buy their fruits and vegetables. In other words, a variety of people should know them. These stories is self-interest because the author needs the profit in the product in the advertisement. On the move on the third stories, um, the about independence, the author does not focus on how the material shape his perception. This story is independent. The author didn't also concentrate on personal fortune, health, or love people. Again, this story is independent because the author didn't focus on how the information will influence its perception. Move on the second point about multiple resources vice one sources. On the first stories, this page includes ABC News and Expert as well as Homeland Security Department. This article contains multiple resources include ABC News, Expert as well as Homeland Security Department. On the second story is about multiple sources. This article was reported by one resources. As you can see, the information is reported by Phil Kane and Andre Thomas and from Walmart. Since the report of the stories come or are employed by Walmart, the article then comes from one source. Again, they may not be able to provide fair opinion. On the third stories, this article contains material or resources from more than one sources. It contains several sources. This article, those sources include Bob Devland, Patrick Mastropolis, Timothy Alben, Edward Davis, Police Commissioner John Millers, and others. Move on the other point about verify vice assets. In this point on the first stories, this site does not claim but confirm the data in the article. With the evidence, it used the evidence from, for instance, the Mumbai 208. The attack was used to kill 175 uh, people and creep Indians sit for days by small guns and explosives. Again, in the second story is about verify vast assets. This data can be used in the statement from the resources. This is how the public can be persuaded to eat. They were cheerful when they showed guests good meals such as fruits, vegetables. Sentences like "greet to your" were also used in summary. This article is about crime sense reporter is about crime sense, use terms of great to you. This story also is asset because the author have not shown the evidence that also that does not show the different resources that can help the client to know what he is saying. About the sad stories about verify vast assets, the author of these resources was aware of finding more information which can attract trust and attention of audience. With this, these resources uh, contain information from outside of the organization, which lead it to be verified as a news. In addition, John Miller's reported that the evening event began with the robbery of 7-Eleven convenience store in Cambridge. It was originally reported that the two suspects were involved in the robbery. uh, Move on the authoritative and informed vice and informed. Uh, on the first stories, the sources show the competence or knowledge in the article because it is known for many others article and illegal acknowledged by the government. Uh, on the second stories, the authoritative resources of information of narrative is educated and I tell this because the reporter of the story seems to know their fascinating plot, therefore centered around delicious cuisine for people to eat at a super. The fruits and vegetables were mixed. They were taught. On the other hand, I can say that the source of narrative has the necessary topic, knowledge, and experience as a specialist in the sector described. They have concentrated on the best food. Also on the sad stories, this article is authoritative and informed because the people who give the information were aware of their they were saying they were confident while they giving uh, while they giving the information as well as were correct. Uh, Also, they have name, vice, unnamed. Many resources will be named, while others will not be named. The sources are mentioned that the more reputable in these pieces and they were not anonymous. This because the specific names such as ABC News, Development, Homeland Security are included. Those, those are the other sources are not named. However, they consider as animals as specialist law enforcement, authoritative, and intelligent personnel as they don't include the particular name. Also, a name on the second stories they have and know is the resources of the data. I see a lot of journalists publicize excellent meal, but they don't identify who they are. This is resources is credible because it contains the name of the author who called Andre Thomas, date of publication, and it has various evidence. On the third stories, about name vice unnamed, many sources are known. The sources list include Gulf, Developer Tree, Continent, Arbe, Massachusetts. Those are the named or they are not animals because of their particular name. Move on other points about in my opinion, is this story is credible. This and the first story is this stories is reputable since it contains and not the data of the publishing and the various evidence, not opinion. On the second stories, for the following reason, I believe that the stories is unreliable. The report on the company and this might be exaggerated since many people desire to have a knowledge of their product. They showed nobody who employed of the company. This could not therefore be regarded as dishonest. You must be able, in general, to remember your brand name. I must distrust that the story is untrustful. On the sad stories, this article is trustful since it contains a non-author publication date and including other information sources. Now, also move on the question. On the first question, on the first stories, the question that I left is how the terrorists do. Also, what is the fact that show the terrorists? On the second story is about the question I left with are as follows. What is the objective of these stories? Is, is this knowledge needed by the all people? Those are the questions that I left in my reading. Also, on the sad stories, the question is what is will be the punishment for those who start bombing? Also, what is the name of the author's article? Move on the last point. Does this article or video qualify as a news? On the first story, the video is called news because it points the prior knowledge and it is aware of speaking or recounting stories. Furthermore, it contains more information that have proved the incident. It is also accurate because the facts are exact. Uh, on the second story, it is not the reality. This is because it is known as a sort of publicity for vegetable. In order to recognize the name of brands, the statement is therefore accurate. And the third story is this article is described as a news as it is reported already occurring information. Furthermore, it tells us stories about what happened in the certain time. Thank you very much.